Now, talk about the great film. So we went to the premiere in Adelaide last year. I think it was around May time,
Oh, nice. Did you
and
like the
we
film?
I loved it.
Loved it. It's
It's
great.
one of the reasons why we're speaking to you today.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Like I think, what was the director's name, by the way?
Yeah.
Floor Vasseur.
Laura Vasseur. Yeah, she was very well directed. The cinematography was
Yeah.
outstanding. We're not going to talk in depth about that. But I just wanted to ask, how did the film come about? Did the director approach you, or did their production company approach you? Give us a little bit of an insight.
Yeah, so this was one of the craziest projects that I got to work on at 18 years old. Basically, graduated high school and had this opportunity that had been, building up between the director Fleur Vasseur and myself. We were at this right time, at the right place, and both kind of having this idea for something bigger than us. And Fleur and I had met, the director Fleur and I had met previously on a prior documentary project just on bye bye plastic bags. And when we met through that, I had exchanged ideas. And her son at the time was also asking her questions that put her in a position to say, okay, let's bring this project to life. And a couple months later, next thing you know, I'm graduating and I set off on this year-long journey to kind of travel around the world, meet other young people my age who are working on incredible projects that are different than what I was working on, but finding the similar lines throughout the film.
Yeah, I really liked that how everyone had a different thing they had that they were making change in their community. It was fantastic.
Inspiring to see.
Yeah, it was. It was fantastic. How were the no, we'll call them the cast. How were the cast chosen for the film? Was there a talk with the director or the producers, or was that purely you that chose those cast
No,
members?
so actually, I didn't meet any of them until I was on set with them or met them at their location. The only one that I had known prior was Shutescat in Colorado because we had been at a couple conferences together already. But the crew had an entire research team and an interview process that they selected and made sure that, again, the crew that we chose would be diverse in topic, diverse in gender, diverse in location, but also good reflection on what young people today are. And so I think that that was, everyone always asks, why 7 change makers, why 7 stories? And actually, there's no real reason to why 7. It was just the lucky number with the great stories included. And yeah, I got to meet them. It was all very, not spontaneous. There was a lot of planning going towards it. But I had the honor of learning about their stories and then actually getting to meet them. And the whole thing is unscripted. So imagine being 18, having this opportunity, and a lot of trust from the directors and a lot of trust from the team that I'm working with to create these stories and bring them out to amplify the incredible work of these change makers on the ground. It was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot of learning on the go.
Yeah. Do you struggle with sort of being in the limelight or being in the spotlight a little bit?
I enjoy it when I get to talk about other people. So that's also where I've kind of built a foundation for that to be my job. With Utopia, we work with 250 change makers globally, so I never run out of an incredible person to talk about. And I've just had the immense privilege and responsibility and opportunity that I get the microphone or the invitation to be on stage. So the way that I see my role is really to take these stories into conference rooms where they might not ever be heard, or take what's being discussed within a conference and bring it out back onto the grounds with the change makers out there at the front lines.
Yeah. Like, I just think being shoved into that spotlight at such a young age at 19 would have been a lot on an individual, not just
it would have been exciting, but a bit nerve-wracking at the same time.
I mean, the craziest one was when I went to where in 2021, it was the Cannes Film Festival. And I remember, when I would say that to someone, they were always like, no way, the Cannes Film Festival, that's insane. And I'm an island baby, right? So for me, it was like, okay, cool, I've heard of it, I think. But it was this red carpet event, and I had a tailor-made dress for me. I felt like such a princess. But also after 3 days, I was kind of like, all right, I'm ready to get back to work. Not saying that I didn't acknowledge, the power of being there in the moment, the power of making the audience and the audience there is a lot more comfortable and privileged. Making that audience particularly uncomfortable was such an exciting goal. And we achieved it. But I think it's also the balance that you need to have of holding on to the reason of why you're doing it. And my reason at 12 years old for starting definitely was not end goal walk on film festival red carpet. So staying humble, staying grounded is key. And of course, it's not always easy because when you're growing up, those are lessons you learn the hard way.
Yeah.
But that's also why having an incredible team and having an incredible support system kind of keeps you grounded and make sure to check in on you and keep you on track.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, well, that's an amazing achievement. Cannes Film Festival is one of the biggest film festivals in the world. So, did you see anyone that you knew in particular? Any actors?
Yeah, I mean, we were so busy. We were working so hard. We had a lot of different interviews and a lot of different events and screenings, obviously. But I think I remember being on the red carpet, and Timothée Chalamet was there, Gigi Hadid was there, of course, Marion Cotillard as a producer of our film, Oscar award-winning actress. That was an insane experience to be alongside such famous people. And then, you're kind of everyone, all the photographers are like looking and they're like, who's this? And I'm like, hi, from Bali. It's me, Mo from Syria. This is Mary. Hey, and that was a funny experience, but yeah, definitely done that. And it will always be a special memory to have.
Yeah, it'll always be something great to look back on. Let's get back to questions.
Yeah. When you were walking with Mary, I think she explained it's like the life jacket graveyard. What were the emotions that you felt in that moment?
Yeah, that was one of the most intense experiences. I felt absolutely heartbroken. It was one of the harder scenes, right? If we're going to call it like, it was definitely one of the harder scenes or moments of the filming experience that it was hard to come up with anything to say. It felt way bigger than anything that I could articulate. It was heavy. It felt so unfair, and it was something that I was not prepared for. I had no idea what I was walking into. When I walked into it, it had already been a little bit I don't know. How do you prepare for something like that, actually?
Yeah.
Right?
You can't, I don't think.
Exactly. So it was a big eye opener. It was something that, you hear on the news, and you hear that, the refugees fleeing from their countries, entering these new territories, and the chaos of that entire journey, the struggle and the pain. And you hear those stories, right? You see it on the news, you hear it on the radios. But when you actually see it, and then walking through a grave jacket graveyard, or a life jacket
jacket
life jacket graveyard, that's where you really then see, and as Mary said, you start to wonder, it's such a strong symbol as to who each of these individuals are suddenly piled up on a mountain. How is that right that we let it happen?
Yeah, like I felt extreme. Like, I think we watched it last night again, like the fourth time, and it's very good, Melati. It's fantastic. But that scene in particular makes you feel really, really heavy and quite emotional.
It's like how can like human society do that? That's what you think. At least that's what I felt when watching it.
Yeah, it's quite tearing. Who was, or did you have a particular cast member that you were keen to meet and to discuss their topic of interest?
Oh, this one's a hard one. I don't actually know if I have a favorite one, or like someone that I was looking more forward to than the others. But maybe because Mohammed was the first person that I met throughout the journey of Bigger Than Us, I'll say Mohammed, because it was also, the excitement, but also the nervousness of actually doing a good job at hosting, so I think that experience, it's forever burned in my memories of like arriving in Lebanon and going through the airport security system and then thinking, oh my goodness, where am I and what am I doing and why me? And
Yeah.
there was like a level of imposter syndrome. But then the reason why I'm using this as an example is because the minute that I met Mohammed, it was like instant friendship, and it was the easiest person. He was the easiest person to talk to. We had the best conversations, and I had such an incredible time with him that it forever impacted me. So yeah, I think in that sense, Mohammed is one of them out of the whole experience that really stood out to me. But of course, I can have stories like that for each one of them. In
Yeah.
Rio de
Yeah.
when I go with Renee, it was the first time I was in the favelas. It was the first time that I heard gunshots. It was the first time I had,
Mm.
joined a massive protest where I saw so much political unrest from the public. And with memory in Malawi, seeing those girls, 15 years old, carrying two of their own babies because they were raped and dropped out of school, and hearing about their stories and their traumas, but then still seeing their resilience. It was each location and each change maker really touched me and changed me a little bit forever.
Yeah. That's the one thing I noticed coming out of the film, is that there's a lot of setbacks in your line of work. Um, so what inspires you to wake up every day
and continue to do what you do?
Whew. I think it's, as I say in Bigger Than Us, it's choosing love. It's really stepping out of that place of fear, which holds a lot of us down. Imagine you have a setback after setback after setback. You could say, you know what, I'm too afraid to make a mistake again, or I'm too afraid to have that rejection again, or I'm too afraid that nothing will happen. And I think what keeps me going is a lot of the love that I have for the natural world, but also,
Mm.
it's the hope of what all of these change makers are doing every day, and remembering that I'm not alone, and
Yeah.
seeing the incredible steps forward to really achieving change is what keeps me going every single day.